This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that highlights and promotes entrepreneurs to learn more about their vision, goals, and marketing strategy. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about the power of properly planned and executed direct mail campaigns. We're also going to talk about some of the fatal mistakes that business owners make by not having a professional bookkeeper on the team. There's so much that we don't know until we know, you know?
I know.
In studio with us today is direct mailing expert Ben Tillery, franchise owner of the top RSVP market in the country. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mark.
Excited to have you here, man. It's like there's direct mail done right. Seems like a narrow sliver, and then there's all the people that do it wrong, that's not profitable,
Yes, sir.
and produces no ROI for a business owner. But this is the exception, or one of the exceptions, at least the only one that I know of. So I'm excited to get into it today and dig up what makes
Mark.
you different, what you're doing different, why people should look. Don't mess around. Just get a hold of Ben and get it done. So excited about that. Also in the studio with us today is Emad Guirguis, a bookkeeping expert and the owner of Simpli Bookkeeping. Emad, welcome back to the show.
Thanks again, Mark. Love to be here always.
Yet another one that's like in your field, really, really good. It's like get it done right. So not only that, but your branding is awesome, dude. I like the black and the gold. You did it well.
Appreciate it.
You're on purpose with everything that you do. So I like that.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that specializes in providing remote staffing solutions for small to medium-sized businesses by hiring skilled English-speaking virtual assistants from the Philippines and Latin America.
And I'm your co-host, Heather Boehme, owner of Onset Professional Development, where we help business owners turn their should-do lists into will-do lists through facilitated training and one-on-one business coaching. And a quick reminder, to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. And if you're going to be in San Antonio area on Thursday, May 16th, 2024, be sure to join us at the next Let's Talk Business. I can't talk today. Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer. It's mega because we're going to have a bunch of people there. Last time we had 150 people actually attend the event, and this time we're shooting for 200 business owners and entrepreneurs on site to mix and mingle. So make sure you're there, and to prep, watch our podcast on prepping for networking events if you're a little nervous about it. You can get all the information and tickets on satalkradio.com. $10, and it all gets donated to charity discovery camps this time, right?
Yep, and we're going to do two things at this one that we didn't do on the last one. Number one is we're going to have a photo shoot, red carpet photo shoot on the way in. So everybody coming in, you're going to have a professional photographer there that's going to actually take a photograph of everybody coming in. So, you know, it's good social media content there. Also, we're going to have a video interview red carpet area where podcast hosts are going to be interviewing business owners on video to create a clip to say, hey, you know, tell me a little bit about your business. And then they'll talk, you know, for a minute about their business. And then that's going to get turned into a clip and then sent out to them as well. So we're really kind of upping the production value and the long-term content value that people are going to be able to get when they come to the show.
That is
so
awesome.
I say show, but I mean the mixer, but you know what I mean?
Because if you don't put it on social media, did it happen?
Pretty much, yeah. All right.
Can I throw in that RSVP Advertising is one of your sponsors?
Yeah, exactly right.
And so is Simpli.
So you guys are gonna have a booth. I was gonna get into this, but you guys are gonna have a booth there, and your sponsorship super valuable to what we're doing because it allows us to take all the ticket sales and give it to nonprofit because there is production costs associated with the show. So that's what our sponsors' money goes towards putting the show on. So really appreciate that. It wouldn't happen without folks like you. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate letting me be there.
Yeah. I called. He answered. Same thing with Emad. You were a sponsor
Absolutely.
at the last one. You know, and I've made a lot of really good friendships. Cool story is we had a couple sponsors drop off for different reasons, right? One was like a serious health issue that came up. The other one was just business, just the fluctuations of business. It happens. But I was able to call guests of the show and procure them as sponsors. And it's just me making a phone call. Yeah, Mark, what do you need? And then boom, it gets done. So this show really kind of brings businesses together, and we do build friendships out of it too.
Absolutely.
So I love it. And I love the opportunity. So sponsors come in, and it's not just, hey, thanks for the money, and you know, you get a booth, but you also get a chance to speak. You're also going to get the interview, your priority on the interview that's going to happen. So you'll get that as well. And then I look for every opportunity I can to promote businesses that are sponsors too, because it's goes beyond just thank you for your money and off we go. You know what I mean? Not to mention the opportunity while you're there. Emad, you had
it was amazing. It really was. Getting to meet everyone, getting a chance to tell everyone a little bit about our company too. It was an amazing event and a great opportunity.
Yeah, and come away with business. I know I saw your list when you left. So
a lot of people now know.
So speaking of sponsors, I want to give a quick shout out to the Guild Event Planning and Project Management and their fearless leader, Gilberto Valdez. He was a guest here on the show as well. He's got a great personality, and he is affectionately known as the Guild Master, who brings together some of the greatest vendors in the San Antonio area to execute large events that cater to their clients and impress and entertain their guests. So if you're looking for a talented and professional event planner that is actually fun to work with, reach out to Gilberto Valdez and the Guild, that's GILD, by visiting their website at theguild.net. That's THEGILD.net. So really appreciate that. I also want to give a quick shout out to Nicole McAllister, the Director of Franchise Services at Choice Hotels International. Now, Nicole is an experienced franchise director with a demonstrated history of working in the hospitality industry. I actually had like a dinner with her one time. It was like a big group setting, and she's a great person, very, very sharp and passionate about what she does. So, Nicole, I'm glad that we're connected on LinkedIn, and I look forward to doing some more networking with you. All right, so Ben Tillery, you have been on a show before. It was quite a while ago. This show's been around for like 2.5 years now, and you came on when we were still at KTSA radio studio, which was fun. So, I mean, I've known you for a long time. But give us just like 90 seconds of your background, how you ended up in the RSVP industry, and then we'll get into what is RSVP, and let's talk a little bit about the services from there.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So I've sales has been in my blood from probably the time I was born, and everything from, in high school I scooped ice cream and utilized my sales potential to upsell my customers and that kind of thing. But then I moved into, I did athletic shoe sales in high school, and as I moved into my came into my own and moved into things. I worked for a print company and started in sales and ended up being a sales manager, a small commercial print company for about 5 years. And I think that's when the ink kind of started seeping into my blood, and that's where I landed now. But then I went into radio advertising, and then television advertising. Along the way, picked up some digital advertising skills and knowledge and such, and I worked with some really great clients over the years, and really saw the impact that I could have on their businesses through those different marketing medias. But shortly after one of my stints as a marketing director for a wellness center, I was offered the opportunity to work for RSVP for a friend of mine, doing direct mail advertising, and when I jumped on that, it was a natural transition for me, and it really, success came very quickly for me and my clients, and then through some tragic events, that gentleman ended up passing away, and I was his exit strategy, and it wasn't supposed to be in the way it was, but it was. So my family was blessed with the opportunity to buy the Northern California and Sacramento RSVP markets, and so I did that, and after a couple of years running those and growing those to a pretty decent spot, we looked at exiting California, as a lot of Californians do, and we landed on New Braunfels, Texas, and coincidentally, the San Antonio RSVP market was up for sale at that time, and so and I think it was some divine intervention and made the decision to move here quite easy. So we picked up that market, and I've been, that was 2020 I started there, so we're going into our fourth year, and then this in January I actually launched the Boise RSVP market, and we're on a trajectory to do great this year. So that's been my background and how I got into what I'm doing, and it's been it's had lots of ups and downs, but it's been advertising and marketing is what I love. So
Let's start with what are the mistakes being made in the direct mail industry, and then we can pick it up from there.
I think the mistakes that are being made are that people think that if they just send out some postcards, they're kind of willy-nilly, they're gonna see some great response, and they just don't go into it with very much education. And there's a lot of, it's not just mailing a postcard. There's a lot that goes into it, from picking the appropriate demographic or your recipients, and really digging into what that looks like. With direct mail, you can be very, very targeted. I mean, it's very much like your Google advertising or anything like that. You can be very specific on who you want to target. You just have to be able to buy your mail list appropriately. And a lot of people don't realize that you can do that, or know where or how to do that. The other side of it is design is critical. You have to send the right message. It has to have the right headline. It has to have the right imagery. And, again, you can just send out something that you threw together, but usually when you don't put time and effort and expertise into something, it's not going to perform well. There's that, and then timing is important. There are sometimes you can play the USPS, US Postal System, and make sure that things get into the mail at a certain time of the week. It's kind of difficult, but there are times. I mean, mailing in the middle of political season is and that's that's during primaries and such. You're not only is the post office and the postal service super busy with all of that stuff, but there's so much direct mail that goes out during that time that, I mean, your postcards and mailings are going to get lost in the mix. So that's usually not the best time to go. Same thing about, with tax time, right around April 15th, nobody's really thinking about that new concrete they need, or that the fact that they need their house painted, or that type of stuff. So we try to avoid those times as well. So.
And you've been in the marketing, advertising, and sales industry for a really long time. How have you seen direct mail evolve with SEO and all the online digital social media marketing coming up against it?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I was in advertising and marketing when the internet was more or less created. Mm-hmm. I mean, a little bit afterwards, but I was working for the printing company at that time, and everyone was saying, print's gonna be dead. Print's just gonna die. The internet is going to kill all print, and all these print shops are going to go out of business, and direct mail is just going to be a thing of the past. And we're still here. It's been 25 years, and we are still here and still going strong. And I think it's been pretty cool to see the direct mail did drop off quite a bit. Probably about 8 to 10 years ago, it dropped off quite a bit, and it went from something that you'd be getting 8 to 10 pieces of junk mail in the mail every day to and it dropped off a lot. The only people that continued were those mortgage companies and insurance companies and that kind of thing. And those were typically letters. But as things have progressed, we are seeing a great response with everything with direct mail, and I think that we have all become so conditioned to the digital noise that's out there. I mean, how many spam emails do you get a day? I mean, I know I'm constantly cleaning out my email box of these different advertising things that are going on social media. You've got all kinds of ads and pop-ups. When you're going to stream the news on whatever it is you stream the news on, you get all kinds of different pop-ups and different ads that pop up. And when you're searching for something on Google, you've got all kinds of sponsored ads and all the stuff on the right-hand side with all the display advertising that you're just shopping for that new lawnmower, and that same lawnmower pops up every single time you go online. And I mean, it's brilliant advertising and it works really well, but I think we're getting so numb to that stuff, that when you get something cool in the mailbox, there's something really to be said about something that's tangible that you can touch and feel and, and look at when it's convenient. And so that's what direct mail does for you.
Well, and it's interesting because that clutter used to be in the mailbox. I remember getting home and checking my mail or my parents' mail back in the day, and it was just so much mail, and only so much could be bills, right? It was just junk. And nowadays, even with half of my mail being from the past tenants of my house before we bought it and moved in, I get maybe 1 or 2 pieces a day. So it's almost like that decline is now an area of opportunity. And you're not just sending like one postcard at a time. You send different type of mail where it's actually fun to get.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that's actually in the mail?
Yeah. So, so for anybody who's watching, and these are my RSVP postcard decks. They just hit homes last week. And so it's a stack of 3.5 by 5.5 inch, full color postcards, nicely designed and nicely printed. And then they're addressed to the homeowner, and then they're packaged in a cellophane wrap, and then they're sent out that way. So you get a nice little kind of interesting cellophane wrapped package of postcards in the mail. And I try to put cool stuff on the outside so that you can get excited about opening it, and then you'll see that plumber, and you'll see that roofer, and the painter, and all those different things. But you'll here in San Antonio, you'll almost always see the melting pot. Which is a 2 can dine for $79 at the melting pot. Hey, so and a lot of people get excited about that. So with that, like I said, that's what RSVP is, and we're about 45 to 50 markets strong across the country. So,
what kind of things will folks find on the cards in there? So, like, say it's a plumber. Is it just going to be, hey, if you need a whatever? Or are they making a specific offer? Is there a discount? What kind of components come on that?
I always encourage offers and discounts, and I would say probably 95% of my clients have some sort of a deal in there. We all love to get a good deal and feel like we're getting a good value. And although most of our clients offer a great value just by doing the work, you can oftentimes get, $300 off your next paint job, or I'm looking at the front cover here is if you've never been to the Reserve on 1863, really cool little outdoor venue. There's a $10 gift card with a $30 purchase. So there's offers and really good values.
Well, and you mentioned earlier the mailing list. People will DIY it, right? But they don't have the addresses and the information. So I don't get these. In my little house, what is the demographic of RSVP that you specifically mail to?
So we are targeting there's a lot of different demographic information, but the starting point is owner occupied. So you have to receive your property tax bill at your residence, which qualifies you as a homeowner. Then number 2, we're taking the top 20% of those owner occupied households based on home value. So it varies a little bit throughout the greater San Antonio area, but like up in the 1604 North, we're looking at home value starting in about the $525,000 to $550,000 range and up. So unfortunately, we have to be kind of discriminatory because our clients are expecting us to give them good, solid leads, and those leads need to be qualified and able to afford what they're providing. And so, unfortunately, it doesn't that disqualifies a lot of people whose homes are valued lower. But it also provides the best quality leads for our clients.
Well, that's the thing. If you're having to, it's like a shotgun blast versus a sniper rifle, right? You can try to hit everybody and hope your ideal client base is in there, or you can go with you guys. So what is that process of like finding those? Is it a real pain, or is it something people can reasonably do DIY?
It's not something you can do DIY.
Okay.
We have a data collection agency that we work with, and we look at a lot of direct mail companies when it comes to magazines or other types of direct mail. They're going to base their lists off of postal rates, and that means that they're mailing to a large concentration of the homes in a particular postal carrier route or a particular area. We're not so concerned with that. We actually look at each individual house, so we want to make sure that each house is owner occupied, meets our threshold of home value. We start looking at household income. Then we start. Then we dig into credit score. We look at the age of the home. Homes that are 10 years old, 10 years or older, typically are going to start needing the home services like roofs and paint, and they're going to start having plumbing problems and air conditioning and that type of stuff. So we prioritize those. We also prioritize people who have recently purchased their homes because they tend to have a higher propensity for needing services. They need to start up pest control. They need to start up their home security. They need to start up, all of the landscaping, and so there's all those different things. And they also need to change things as well. I mean, they may have bought an older home and that needs new windows or that type of thing. So they also are the people that may have moved into a new area, and for our restaurants and personal services, it's a great way to introduce them to local restaurants and those things that are around them.
So you're successful at what you do. I know you always look to provide ROI, but can you give me an idea if a business owner's listening to this and they're like, okay, well, I'm interested in this, but they're gauging their chance of success. How would you answer that?
I mean, number one, advertising is never guaranteed. But that being said, if you are putting the right offer and giving it to the right audience in a good time, at the right time, you're putting your best foot forward on things. And so ROI is different for every industry. Typically for home improvement, and home improvement is people that are installing something, and usually they're larger ticket items. But in that a qualified and successful direct mail campaign, we are crossing our fingers and hoping that we get to at least a 1 to 10 job cost, meaning that if you spend $1,000 with me, I would like you to get $10,000 in business. That's not profit, but that's $10,000 in business. And 10% job cost is industry standard. It's an acceptable number. Of course, we want better than that, but that's an acceptable number. If you are doing business and you're not making enough profit to absorb 10%, then there's you might want to change the way you're doing things. For home services, it's usually between a 1 to 2 to 5%. So carpet cleaning, air duct cleaning, those types of things. If you're spending $1,000 with me, I want to see $3,000 to $5,000 in business.
Okay, and do you get that more often than not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, I have a question on that, because one of the things that I experienced in sales, and I'm sure we all have, is that consistency factor. Like, the more you do it, and even this podcast is a great example. Mm-hmm. I'll meet people who have podcasts, and I tell them on this one how many subscribers we have, and they're like, whoa, how'd you do that? And I'm like, we have not really gone viral ever, but it's pure consistency. We were just churning out content. Well, at one point, we were doing like 4 episodes a week, and now we're at over 20,000 subscribers. So those customers that come in and they, don't just stick with you for one print cycle, but they do consistently get in front of these homeowners, do they see a larger ROI typically?
Yes, they see a larger and more consistent ROI. So the cool thing about direct mail is that it's a direct response medium. So unlike radio or TV or billboards or anything like that, those are all branding mediums, and you will see some response from those things, especially if you have a very strong, call to action. However, typically, they say that you need on radio and TV and billboards and other mediums, you need to see something 6 to 10 times before someone's going to react. The cool thing about direct mail is that yes, consistency is important. However, I have brand new advertisers that come on board, and they can expect that they're going to start getting phone calls right out the gate, even though no one's seen them before. And they could be a no-name company that no one would ever recognize their name, because if you frame it properly, it has nothing to do with who you are, but it has everything to do with what you're offering. And so, again, with branding is very important as well, because then it gains that respect and that credibility. However, through direct mail, you can launch a business, and you can generate business even if you're unknown, and you can do it quickly.
It's that implied authority.
What other RSVP is more than just direct mail, right? So, and you talk about a thing called a marketing mix. Talk about what that is, and I guess let's roll into what else you guys are doing.
Yeah, so RSVP is a franchise, and so RSVP itself is our direct mail postcard decks. The parent company is called And One Media, and we operate, here in San Antonio, and then Sacramento, Northern California, and then also in Boise. And we act as a full service agency, offering everything from digital to all the different medias. So basically, if you think advertising at all, we can help you with it. But as far as a marketing mix goes, the companies that are the most successful, and you can it's pretty easy to see those. A lot of your big car dealerships here in San Antonio. Stevens Roofing. Stevens Roofing is one that you see everywhere. Rhino Roofing is another one. I mean, a lot of those big roofing companies are a really good example of that. Rudy's Flooring is another that's excellent. And the reason that you remember their stuff is because you see it everywhere. They have a great marketing mix, meaning that they may not spend a whole bunch on. I mean, they do. They spend quite a bit, but they strategically place their radio advertising, their TV advertising, their billboards, their digital media. Everything is in a place that the appropriate demographic, which is probably most of the people here in this room and most of the people listening, will see their stuff over and over again. And so, I mean, for me, even though I know a lot of different roofing companies because I'm in the business, if you say roofing, Stevens Roofing comes up that's just top of mind. That's just one of the main ones that comes up, and it's because they're everywhere. And I mean, you're same thing with your personal injury attorneys, right? I mean, you've got Thomas J. Henry and you've got the Fours, right? I mean, those are here in San Antonio. Those are the guys, right? You've got others that are in the same playground, but those guys come out on top, and that's because they have a really good marketing mix. They're everywhere, and they're very strategic in the way they do things. So our clients that do have a good marketing mix, and then they throw in a direct response media like RSVP or direct mail, or your Google AdWords, your pay-per-click, that kind of stuff. That's how you can get the phone to ring, and you'll see that things are much more effective when you have a good marketing mix.
Yeah, it's largely B2C, business to consumer, right? What about your B2B clients, business to business? What are you doing there?
So we can we can buy decent business mailing lists based on industry, and they B2B is a little bit more difficult because getting to the decision maker is tough. I mean, unless you're a small business and you get your own mail, oftentimes that air quote junk mail ends up not making it to where it's supposed to be, which is the decision maker. But we can absolutely reach out to those folks and get postcards or letters or whatever we need into those homes for sure. I mean, not homes, into those offices.
Cool. All right, Ben, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can either go to my website. I've got a couple of them. I've got And One Media, ANDONE media.com, or RSVPadvertising.com. Or they can just shoot me an email, and that's ben@rsvpsa.com.
All right, Ben. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, Emad, of course, we are in quarter 2 now, right?
Yep.
It's officially quarter 2. for the bookkeeping world, for the business world. So I think one of probably your favorite topics, if I'm going to take a guess, is disorganized business accounting records. That's like you start salivating when that comes around, because it's like you get an opportunity to help a business owner to fix the stuff and then create a client for probably forever, right? And once they become your client, they kind of stay your client. So having a disorganized records mess, what kind of problems does that typically lead to?
So that is actually a great question. So usually most folks, when they inquire or they call us, it's not because everything's going perfect, right? It's because, hey, we've maybe neglected our finances for the past year or two, and hey, maybe it's time now that it's caught up with us and we have to actually get things together, and maybe I should file taxes this year. So taking all that into consideration, making sure that the past gets cleaned up, and then putting them on a path to where they actually can set up a successful future for them in the business, right? That's always the plan. But we got to make sure that their past is taken care of, and then take care of their future as well. Of course, most business owners want to grow, so that's where we'd like to focus and help them as well.
Okay. So what are some of those problems that get?
I'm just laughing a little bit at the last bullet point on our notes here, because every one of these things is like what you would consider totally normal, and it's like bam.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about let's start at the end. Tell us about the last bullet that you put on here.
So, hey, a lot of businesses involve the husband and the wife. Am I wrong?
No.
You're right.
I'm right. Okay.
Right.
So, and because, I mean, I'm married, been married a long time. I think we're so invested now that both of us are afraid to divorce and start dating, right? We're like,
it's not on the table for
we'll just go with what we
reasons.
got here. It's the good, the bad, the indifferent, right? In fact, I'm pretty sure whoever wrote that in Sickness and in Health, Rich Report, they were an older, mature couple, right, that figured this stuff out. But look, stress on the family unit caused by poor financial planning and execution can lead to divorce. And that's the bullet point I think that Heather's laughing about. So disorganized records, accounting, and all of that stuff, not being aware of your numbers leads to problems such as divorce. Have you seen that yet?
It's happened a couple times. You can't directly say whether it's directly correlated with financials or not, but as everyone knows, financials is a key aspect of whether it's personal life or it's business. So it's important regardless of how you look at it. And a lot of times they say, try not to go into business with, friends, family, and so forth, just because, you're with that person so much. So sometimes you might see different on some things, and financials being a big part of it. So if you can delegate the financial parts where you can have an external source refer that information to you rather than internal with personal and business, then it's usually a wise decision.
Okay, I don't want to turn this into a divorce business accounting conversation, but I'm sure it would be interesting to people because there are business owners going through a divorce. So what does that look like coming into a situation where you're having to sort out not just the books, but like probably lawyers involved too? Because when you're splitting up and you have a business, like that's just a whole nother massive incident. I can't even imagine trying to divide that up. So what does that look like from a bookkeeping standpoint, getting dropped into that? Are you starting from probably a mess?
Well, I will say, let's say it's an ongoing situation to where, they were together and unfortunately that situation arose, right? The business financials stay as they're going until, let's say, an attorney does get involved, and then there's percentage split. And then that's where everything has to get recognized to who has to manage what portion. But a lot of times in business, the owners, if they are husband and wife, they do take kind of a more mature approach towards it, and they leave the business as is, and then they'll decide, okay, who gets to take the business? Because a lot of times if you're trying to split a business in half, it's not going to work out very well. Now, I'm not saying that's not all the time, but it's very difficult to make a business work with all the struggles and additional stress.
I could see an advertising angle there, right? Certainly a marketing angle, if not an advertising angle, is like, look, If you're a husband and wife business and you want to actually save that relationship, my name's Emad Guirguis. Give me a call or visit my website at simplybookkeeping.com. Because look, it's like, don't throw that, the immaturity, I guess that an immature stance or that immature action towards bookkeeping. Have a professional do it so that they can keep everything clear. And that way you've got almost an arbitrator or at least a mediator in the middle there saying, hey, look, this person's thinking it's great. This person's scared to death.
Not advertise me as a mediator.
Yeah, this is where it's at right here. Right. You know what I mean? Because the numbers aren't going to lie unless we're lying about the numbers. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm all about simplicity here, right? So, they might say, okay, we can't afford a bookkeeper at the time. Well, you also can't not afford, later on the potential consequences that could come down the line with everything. So it's about when and how,
Well,
what's cheaper, a bookkeeper or a divorce?
Mark has crystal clarity on it. Well, bookkeeper is cheaper. Well, same though. I always recommend, if you're going to choose something to invest in from the beginning, and it's between a CPA and a bookkeeper. I love my CPAs, but go the bookkeeper route because a CPA can work with good books even if you bring them on at the last minute. But if they're having to wade through years of messy bookkeeping, then they're going to charge you a lot more money. So you're going to end up spending more. But that wasn't the question I was going to ask. That's just my grandstanding on bookkeeping. I was going to ask, because as a coach, my big thing is always looking at what is the thing that's going to drive change of action. So what is that thing that makes you change what you're doing, right? So when people come to you, it's usually because something made it painful enough that they realize they have to get the books done. They probably applied to purchase a house and they said, oh, absolutely not. You haven't filed your business taxes in 3 years. How do we know how much you make? Something like that. Do you see patterns in that? What is that pain point that brings people to you after years of messy books?
That is a great question. So a lot of times it's the obstacle of not being able to grow just because you don't have your financials. So whether that's, hey, now we're in the position where we do have an opportunity to grow and we need a loan and we've gone to the bank and they need financials and we don't have any, that's scenario A. Or, hey, now, our family needs to also buy a house. We need to have our taxes done, but we can't get our taxes done because, we don't have a set financial basis to work off of. So eventually it catches up with you. But the bigger picture that we're looking at is, in those years, you could be growing very well. You may be, but in most cases, you're staying stagnant until you are aware of what's going on. And that's what kind of, shocks that light bulb and says, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's going to give you more opportunity to be able to grow. So that's where most of the importance lies.
And I think a lot of the time there's a lot of shame wrapped up in it too. It's like we should be better about keeping our finances nice and tidy, except we don't because that's not our focus point. Generally, if you're a business owner who gets up and goes, the bookkeeping aspect is probably your worst enemy most of the time because who just likes to sit there and dig through finances. I barely do it with my personal stuff, and that's my personal stuff, right? Yeah. So... oh my gosh, I kind of lost the question in that whole tirade.
That was good commentary.
I'll help you there in a minute. So as business owners, you have a really long task list, right? And so if you are going to add bookkeeping to your additional task list, do you think that's going to go to the top or do you think it's going to go to the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Bottom.
The boring
Always
thing
the
that
bottom.
you feel a little bit of shame around, so you push it off to next week.
It's not just boredom. It's also could be shame, right? It's like, you know what? I don't want to know what they are because I like my little fantasy world about what's happening with my business.
Well, and I think when I work with business owners, a lot of the times they think they're the only one experiencing these issues. I'm running a company and it shouldn't be a problem because I've built the company so big. So I think an interesting question is how big is a company that has come to you and had messy books? What's the biggest one you've run across?
I mean, it's all sizes.
Yeah.
It's all sizes. Some do get lucky and they've kind of winged it for so long, but that also makes you wonder, okay, how much more potential did you have that you didn't, elaborate on in those past years? And so it's like you could have done, okay, you might have done good, decent, but you could have done better. And you got to know to be able to make wise decisions.
But
You
that's
gotta
the
know.
thing. I think people think, oh, if I'm a small company, like it's still fine to do this. And they don't realize that companies get quite big without a lot of these things. Like I've met companies and, obviously this was a while ago, but in 3+ million gross revenue that didn't have their books cleaned.
Yeah.
It's wild, but it happens. And I think we get in these silos where we think we're the only people that don't do this because everybody else has it figured out. And that just isn't the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that I was in that position, and part of it was that my office manager was managing my books, and she was, she was doing the best job she could. She's not a bookkeeper, and she was keeping up QuickBooks the best she could. And it was simple back when we started because we just had one thing, right? We were just RSVP, and we were just selling direct mail in Sacramento and Northern California, and we were doing, I don't know, about $1 million a year in gross receipts. But we were growing and didn't really pay attention, and so I eventually, and she was taking so much time to reconcile and do all the stuff that I called Emad. And so Emad's been my bookkeeper for, a little over a year now. And, the amount of time, at the very minimum, the amount of time that he's freed up and for her to do other things that are more important for her has been very valuable as far as that goes. So, time and accuracy. And my CPA now doesn't mind getting my stuff. Right? We just give it to him, and then if he has any questions, he calls Emad, and then it's just done. And he files our taxes as opposed to, getting. We didn't ever really hand him a thing full of receipts and ask him to do all that stuff. But it was like that in years past, and so anyway.
I remember
my
when
testimony.
we first switched over, my wife was like, it was like, well, this is her thing that she does, right? And I'm not going to say it's fuzzy math sometimes, but it might be. So I'm like, I don't really know. We probably should have a professional doing this, right? Not everybody's geared for it, but now she's absolutely spoiled by it. So it's a good thing.
That's fantastic.
Agreed.
It's a huge weight off your shoulders, too. I know generally prep for my taxes takes me like an hour just to gather all the mail. That's the most painful point of it. Because other than that, it's just bookkeeper, CPA. You go speak your language and come tell me what the damage is instead of me having to go track down a million things. And that's a huge weight off your shoulder. Time-wise, if it's just that one time a year, how much time, anybody listening, did you spend on your taxes this year? With your CPA chasing you or you chasing your CPA in that industry, more people are over 50 in that industry than like any other. So there's going to be a major shortage of CPAs in the next few years. We can all see the writing on the wall. So we need to have as much buttoned up for those guys as we can.
Yep. And you had brought up a good question there earlier where you said, a couple companies, they grow to 3.5 million and then they realize, okay, now we need a bookkeeper. So, the huge benefit that I'll say to that, because that has happened with us a few times. We've received a few companies where they are in the millions and they've kind of winged it in the past. Well, I love those companies because the moment where we show them how much they can now save or what they've been excessively, spending on from non-potential, savings is huge. So they're always enlightened, and it's always like, okay, we know we're going to have, most times we're going to have some good news for you because you don't know what you don't know, right? And there's so many areas that you can either save, improve, work on. There's so many avenues. And so that's where the benefit.
Well, even just like on a consumer side, they invented that one app, and the app's only job is to run through your finances and tell you what subscriptions you're still paying for. Have you guys ever done that where you
Rocket
forgot?
money.
Because I full have. I had what was it? It was like a clothing, Fabletics. And, it was $50 a month. Not a big deal. I signed up for the subscription because I wanted the shoes. And then I forgot about it for like a year. And then I realized I had $200+ just sitting there, and I couldn't get a refund. I had to spend it all on Fabletics. I had more workout clothes than I'd ever had in my life. But people do that. It happens all the time where they're just, spending and they don't really realize it because it just comes out automatically. Love automation, but there's a problem with it in that regard.
Right, exactly. And to Ben's point, thank you again, of course, Ben, for that amazing testimonial. So, our main goal is to help folks streamline, make things simple for them, because we know they have a lot of things on their plate. So even within our process, we try to make it as simple as possible for the business owner, whether it's, collecting information, collecting data. We try to make that process simple. And then we know that whenever we do pass it over to the CPA, a lot of times CPA is going to have questions. Well, if we've already done most of it through the year, if not all of it, actually all of it, it's best if they just reach out to us because we already know what's going on. So we'll help explain. And then the very minuscule items or the last pieces of the puzzle, then they can reach out to the business owner. But at least you're alleviating or delegating 90, 90, whatever % of that information or tasks that you would instead have had to do.
It's a
Yeah,
lot
and
of-
have a professional do it for you, right? I mean, I think that's the thing is hire the smarter people to do your stuff for you. Well, let's talk a little bit about reviewing records, right? How often should a business be looking at their, doing some kind of review of their business records?
I always say every month. It's important. We send our clients their financials every month, so it's good to at least when you get it, just skim through it, have a look through. If you have questions, always reach out back to us for clarification. But at least monthly is really good to help you keep up with your goals.
Why aren't they doing it, do you think? Because they're not doing it. I can promise you that. I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of people just aren't looking at them. Why is that?
If you aren't already receiving them, then yeah, they're not looking at them. That's because you don't have anything to look at. But if you are receiving it, then it's really in your best interest. I mean, of course, we can't call everybody and say, hey, look at your finances. That's something that they've got to do on their own, but we're doing everything for them to be able to do it on their own. We're giving them, the pieces to put the puzzle together.
You can give them a puzzle, but you can't make them put
Yeah.
it together. I'll tell you what they're looking at. Do you want an answer to that question?
Well, yeah. I mean, because look, if my guess is they don't understand how to interpret the data, okay, or they're afraid of the data. What are your thoughts?
My answer would be their bank account balance. They're keeping an eye on, do they have enough money to pay for everything right now? And if they do, we're good. So that's it. And then they keep moving forward.
But that
So-
doesn't take into account accounts receivable.
No, it doesn't. But you know what? You can't pay people with accounts receivable money until you get the money.
Well,
in
but
your
you can
bank
get a
account.
loan on it. I mean, if you're aware of what your accounts receivable are, you can actually borrow against that.
Well, and that's the thing. Generally, it's not that they're not looking at like accounts receivable. I think every business owner probably at least has a vague running tally of their accounts receivable in their head. That's the to-do list, right? That's money. But the P&L is just, this is what happened yesterday. So it's not urgent. I'm not going to look at it right now because I'm dealing with what the bank account balance is. So if I'm going to spend time between looking through my P&L and analyzing it or going after those accounts receivable, where's my time best spent if my bank account's low? Well, it's going after the accounts receivable, not sitting there looking at the P&L. So it's one of those kick the can down the road items. It's not going to yell at me if I don't look at my P&L right now, so I'll do it next week and then next week. And all of a sudden, your P&L that your bookkeeper sent you is a month behind in the email, so now you have to go look for it. And it's not hard to find it, but it's just these teeny little things that add up without the accountability of saying, hey, let's look at your
Right,
P&L
yeah.
and see what's going on.
Do you work closely with CFOs?
If they're large enough to have it, yes, very often. But usually for a company to have a CFO, they're going to be pretty large.
Doesn't that frustrate the process of actually being able to take that data and use it effectively for the business? Because I mean, I'm working with Kian, and he's a CFO consultant, right? And I'm a small company, but yet it highlights a lot of these areas where you can see where you're overspending or underspending or whatever based on percentages and dollar amounts and so forth. So when you combine a CFO type perspective with you guys, I mean, that's a whole
Well,
lot.
another thing, too, CFOs, they're looking at their finances daily. You know, they're not waiting a whole month. They're looking at it every single day, at least multiple times within the day, to see how much they've collected that day, how much they've paid, who's been paid, and so forth. So in those scenarios, things are pretty on point, done daily.
Well, and I think a good point to that is it's not so much that Kian is a CFO, it's that he is holding you accountable to looking at it on a regular basis. So this is something I need to start doing monthly with my clients, is like, pull up your P&L, let's talk about last month, note. But it's the accountability piece, because if Kian wasn't there asking you to pull up your P&L and show him what happened last month, would you have time to do that?
Well, I think I would back that up even another step. And it's if I'm a business coach, I'm going to ask a couple of qualifying questions. Number one, do you have a bookkeeper? Okay. Because if you don't have a bookkeeper, it's the cost is not exorbitant, right? It's very affordable to have a bookkeeper on staff. So I'm going to hook you up with Emad. That's where we're going to start. Next is, who is going to help you interpret the data that you need to know on your numbers? Well, we don't have that person. I'm not the expert. Okay, cool. Then we're going to hook you up with a CFO consultant.
Well, regardless, we do educate our folks. It's just we can only do so much for them. They have to also be willing to wanting to learn the data. So we're always accessible. Let me put it like that.
But they may not have the time. It's like, if you're the tip of the spear, the CEO of the company may not want to slow down or be able to slow down to take a look at the numbers, which is not good.
That is not
good.
Yeah.
That's a setup for disaster.
Right.
But get the piece in place, right? Get the data, get accurate data, and then figure out how you're going to interpret that data. Because I know, like, looking at what gets put out when Kian is laying out those numbers and how they work is eye-opening for me. And it had him say at our last meeting, he's like, okay, Mark's now on board. Because I hate the numbers world. But I know I've got accurate numbers, and then I know I'm getting clarity on the numbers, and it leads to success in my business as a business owner. And I'm type A personality, high D, right? Red if you're in the colors. That actually works for me because I see the exact relevance. It's very
direct.
It's purposeful. Okay. You know what I mean? Because I don't like to waste time on things that aren't going to actually move me forward. So I actually see the purpose of all that. So to me, that's a winning combination.
But the thing is, you had to work with Kian to figure out what worked for you to see it. And that's a big point. Imagine just getting this piece of paper and knowing what nothing on it meant. And you either have to take the time to muddle through it and spend the time to figure out what the context is that makes this information useful to your specific question, but you don't know exactly how to find the answer to that question until you just muddle your way through it. It could take you hours, honestly, if you're not super inclined. It's the way, like, I'm working with Jakin to do my CRM. I am not naturally inclined to technology. So everything I do takes 3 times as long while I muddle my way through it. And then I come to him at the end of the day with my questions. But if I had someone guiding me step by step through that and just saying, do this next, I would pick it up super fast.
Look, when I hear bookkeeping, CPA, taxes, blah, 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 right? But another way to frame that is bookkeeping, CFO consultant, growth on the business that actually makes you money. Because once you know what those are and you can start dialing those numbers properly, then your business is going to excel. So I don't know if you're approaching it that way, but I would say that's a huge missed opportunity. Instead of just going bookkeeper, CPA, taxes, bookkeeper, CFO, profit.
Well, I think it may call for a little bit of maybe just shifting in the model of the industry rather than shifting the way everybody else
I'm starting
approaches
a bookkeeping
the
business.
industry. I won't lie. I'm in a more like investor-focused entrepreneurial group online, and they talk about that constantly, creating a CPA firm that focuses more like that, changing the way the industry rolls people through rather than having people piece together like you have a way that works for you, more of a consultative approach that gives people more. Because my CPA, I mean, bless them, once a year is how much I talk to them. Thank goodness I have a bookkeeper. Sorry, Emad, you're not it because I didn't know about you when I got mine brought on. And now it would be a pain in the butt to move. But
he's offering a discount, especially only for you today.
Well, that's the thing. And now I have found one here in San Antonio. And
here's your opportunity, brother.
I'm planning on moving next year. Sorry. I probably shouldn't say that online because they're still working on my extension. But because I want a more consultative approach, I want somebody holding me accountable to like, get your quarterlies in on time because I scheduled a meeting with you to talk about this. And I think that may just be a change in the industry rather than a change in how we approach it. So get on that, Emad.
Now, Mark, we're actually going to use you as an example because anytime, for example, you guys use us for your bookkeeping, right? Anytime Jennifer has a question about the financials, she actually calls us and says, hey, can we do a review session together? And then we'll get her set up and then we'll do a review session together. So we do those for our clients. For our clients that have been quiet for a little while and we haven't heard from them, but everything is going smooth, we do reach out every about quarter or so and say, hey, let's just have a touch. Let's show you where you're standing just so that you're aware. Whether you are aware or you're not, we want you to be aware. But a lot of times, most of our clients, we're in pretty constant communication with them, which is really good. So if they don't know something, that's a very unlikely situation because we're in such constant communication with most of our clients to where they kind of have an idea and know what's going on.
And you know Kian pretty well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is, I don't know if you're thinking of having that conversation with him, but I definitely see that as a segue with what you've got going on to what he's got going on because it's very helpful for me because that's what I have going. You and Kian, right?
Nice.
As far as the numbers go.
Right.
Right? That's like a secret sauce. I think that maybe you guys are not, maybe you are going to capitalize on that, but I would say at least take a look at that because we need it as business owners because I've never thought about numbers anything more than the numbers, bills, taxes. That's it. I haven't thought about it like this until now. And it's like, I love it. So,
That is fantastic. I like it.
yeah.
I have to call him afterwards.
Right.
Kian's like, this episode rocks for me.
So financial health of a business, super important. We've talked a little bit about how we can kind of get some clarity on that. What do you, outside of the numbers and maybe the meetings on the clients, what are you doing with your business to grow it? What's next for you guys? Is anything next?
For our business?
Yeah, for your business. What's next?
That is a great question. So we are always trying to stay ahead of the curve. So we're always looking for systems and processes to be able to improve on. And so especially with, everything being always evolving, like now there's AI, So what are we doing to be able to help evolve our business in a way to where we can continuously grow, but still maintain quality? Because that is our biggest thing. And I've always told people on the show and everything, we always like to only take on as many clients as we can take while maintaining the quality that we have without, giving that up for just a few more clients, right? So systems, processes, that is always key. And then making sure that our internal knowledge is always staying up. So it takes us a long time to hire and find a really good bookkeeper. But I will say with even the staff that we have now, they are exceptional. I mean, they are fantastic individuals. They work hard. They are super loyal. If they don't know a piece of knowledge, they find it on their own time, and then we all discuss it together. So it's finding the right people, because the right people makes a massive difference. We all know that. Systems and processes.
Okay, so let's talk about tracking assets as we get close to the end of the show here.
Yep.
What do bookkeepers do with respect to tracking assets that maybe small business owners should be aware of?
Yeah, assets oftentimes is a missed opportunity for a lot of business owners, because whether you are an actual store or you are online, if you have assets, you want to be able to track those along with their depreciations to be able to know, okay, how much have you expensed off throughout these years? And unless you are personally keeping track of that, your bookkeeper should be or needs to be, because that's how you're knowing, okay, how can I forecast for the next 5 years? And those are really good conversations that you can bring up to your CPA, not necessarily depend on your CPA or tax preparer to bring it up to you. So we want you to have the tools and skills and knowledge to be able to bring that up and say, okay, I've got these assets, or I've had these build out costs throughout the years. How much of that have I expensed out yet? Or how much of that can we pre-strategize for the next few years.
How complicated is that to do? Because it sounds like it's overwhelming to me to even think about that. If I was, had an inventory, that makes me sick to even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a larger store, you not only have inventory, you have build out costs, you have continuous assets. I mean, even a computer, there's an asset for you.
Fun little special tax for all that stuff you own.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Vehicles. I mean, you name it. If it's an asset, it needs to be on the balance sheet. You need to at least have an idea of what your business is valued at.
Have we talked about depreciation with you on the show yet?
Not yet.
Oh, goodness. Okay, that needs to be the next thing we talk about is like depreciation, how it can offset your tax costs and how you can use it as a strategy as a business owner. Okay, that's an entire episode, though.
Do you have a business credit developer or consultant in your circle that is part of what you do? Because that seems to go right in line with what you're doing, too. Because if you're talking about asset depreciation, well, that matters to the company, but it also matters in a way that, hey, you can build up your credit if you're properly tracking all of this stuff. You're buying this stuff on, you know what I mean? It's like a fuller circle, in my opinion, where when you're talking with a business owner, that should be something that comes up. What are you doing for your business credit? So kind of a thing.
Your business credit is a little bit different. It's going to depend on, of course, loans, credit cards, all that great stuff. But it's a little bit different than depreciation. No,
I know, but it ties into what the business owner should be aware of as they're growing their business. And it fits into assets because, well, how are you buying your assets?
Right.
Are you buying them?
So that's where, of course, our network and connection comes in great handy. We do partner with a lot of client development bankers that are able to help and assist in those situations because a lot of business owners, if they haven't been in business for, I believe it's 2 to 3 years, it's difficult to get a loan. But if you have, then they can negotiate and look at everything that you're holding.
If you're asking that question, what are you doing about your business credit, right? As a part of just, you're looking after me. Mark, do you have business credit or are you developing? How are you buying your stuff? That I've got a contact for you on that, and you know her already.
Fantastic.
Well, what I kind of hear Mark asking is, okay, so when is there going to be a Simpli CPA, a Simpli business credit, right?
These are all strategic alliances that you're putting together. They make you a more valuable bookkeeper because not only are you going to provide the bookkeeping services, but I'm looking out for other things with your business.
Yes, I see. I get the question.
Simpli Business Finances. We do it all.
We do have really good connections in our network. You will have to participate in our network to know who they are, which is a fantastic resource for even the business owners that do come in.
Yeah, I'd have that checklist. What are you doing for this? Pop, 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 pop. And then you got your connections.
I think I
see like a pamphlet visual of just like business financial health. It's like Simpli Bookkeeping, CPA, business credit.
She thinks of things in a what is it?
Very
organization chart.
workflow chart type of way. Ben knows.
I know too.
Well, I will say, even then, a lot of business owners, as they're growing, like y'all were saying, and they'll say, okay, we need to get a loan on our AR. If they're not reaching out to a banker or a bank that they have a solid connection with, they'll 9 times out of 10 ask us, hey, do you know someone that can help us with this situation? And we do, and we can make that connection for them, and we can make that build up that confidence for the business owner because we can show them, okay, this is what they've got, this is their history, this is how they're performing. And then, that's where the connection builds. So it's your resources, tools, of course, your network is your net worth. This is where that comes in handy.
All right, Emad, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can check out our website, www.simpli bookkeeping, and that's simply with an I, SIMPLI, bookkeeping with a double K.com, or they can reach us at 832-518-9368, and I would be happy to have an introduction call with them.
I think if you haven't already, you should get simplybookkeeping.com with 1K. You should get that and then forward it over to the other one because people like myself
spell it wrong
all the time.
Spell it wrong on purpose.
I didn't pick up Marc Ebinger with a K. I've got marcebinger.com with a C, but I don't have it with a K. I didn't know any better back in the day, but Anyway,
You must be losing a lot of business.
I probably am. Are you being sarcastic? Is he?
All
he
those
cutting on me over
dyslexic
there?
people using a K instead of a C, trying to get virtual assistants.
All right. As we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video versions of the show anytime by visiting our website, satalkradio.com. And quick reminder, if you're in the San Antonio area and want to join us at the next Mixer, it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of business, and a lot of long-term content generated there at the event. So, again, satalkradio.com. Pick up your tickets. They're only $10, and all of that goes to charity. All right, guys. Great job, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.